Welcome, my amazing friends. Today, I bring you a story that will touch your heart, inspire your soul, and teach you powerful lessons about perseverance, discipline, and the power of never giving up. This is not just the story of an inventor, not just a politician or philosopher. This is the real journey of a poor boy who was born with no titles, no money, no chances, and yet he wrote his name into eternity. He didn't inherit power. He built it with books, with work, with pure willpower. His name was Benjamin Franklin. And maybe you've felt lost before. Maybe you've tried learning English and gave up. Maybe you feel like you're always starting over, always too busy, too tired, too distracted. Then this story is for you. Because Franklin wasn't a natural genius. He was a seeker, a student of life. And he believed in one simple idea, that with the right habits, with self-discipline, and a love of learning, anyone can change their destiny. He learned without school. He created without money. He won without privilege. And today, he will show you how. Watch until the end, because after this powerful story, I'll teach you some key English words with clear, simple examples you can use every day. And tell me, where in the world are you watching from? Write it in the comments. I love seeing how far this message can travel. And if this video speaks to your heart, like it, share it, and subscribe. Because here, we don't just learn English. We learn how to live with wisdom. Are you ready? Let's begin the story of a man who mastered himself and transformed the world. Benjamin Franklin was born on January 17, 1706, in Boston, Massachusetts. He was the 15th child out of 17. Yes, 17 siblings. His father, Josiah Franklin, was a candle maker. The family was poor, and opportunities were almost non-existent. From an early age, Benjamin learned that life was about hard work. At just 10 years old, he was already helping in his father's candle shop. At 12, he was sent to work as an apprentice at his older brother's printing press. It wasn't a noble job, not exciting, not easy. It was tiring, repetitive, and sometimes humiliating. But in that noisy, dirty print shop, something extraordinary began to happen. Benjamin fell in love with words. He started reading everything he could find: essays, newspapers, old books, and pamphlets. He had no money to go to school, but he learned more than many who did. Alone, by candlelight, in silence, he studied Latin, French, philosophy, and science. He corrected his own writing. He rewrote famous articles in his own words. He was learning and growing. But there was something even stronger than his love for knowledge. There was a calling. At the age of 17, he decided to run away. He packed what little he had and went to Philadelphia, a city where no one knew his name. He arrived tired, dirty, with very little money and no clear plan. But he carried something no one could take away: the will to succeed. And there, in that new city, Benjamin Franklin began building the greatest project of his life: himself. He didn't wait for the world to be fair. He didn't wait for someone to save him. He simply took action. One step at a time. One habit at a time. One day at a time. In Philadelphia, Benjamin Franklin started from nothing. He slept in cheap boarding houses, ate stale bread, and worked endlessly as a printer. But every single day, he learned something new. Every small step forward was a victory, and slowly he began to stand out. He published his own writings, created his own newspaper, founded public libraries, organized discussion clubs to share ideas with other curious minds. He deeply believed that the mind needed constant nourishment and that education was not a luxury, but a necessity. But something still bothered him: his own flaws. Franklin knew he could be impulsive, sometimes vain, sometimes disorganized. He didn't just want to be smart, he wanted to be virtuous. And so, he created a bold personal project, a system of transformation based on 13 virtues. 13 qualities he believed were essential to living a good life. Things like temperance, order, resolution, frugality, humility. But he didn't try to change everything at once. He focused on one virtue per week. For 13 weeks, he observed himself, tracked his mistakes, and gently corrected his behavior, with discipline. Then he started the cycle again, 4 times a year. There was no punishment, no guilt, just one clear goal: to be a little better every day. Franklin transformed himself through small daily habits. He woke up early, planned his day, read, wrote, reflected, all before the world even opened its eyes. And in time, he reaped the rewards. He became one of the most respected men in the American colonies. He invented brilliant things like the lightning rod, bifocal glasses, and the Franklin stove. He wrote ideas that would last for centuries, and later became a key diplomat in the American fight for independence. But the most amazing part? He didn't start with luck. He started with discipline. He started with a decision. He started with the commitment to never stop growing. Benjamin Franklin was not just an inventor, not just a politician. He was an architect of modern life, a living symbol that knowledge can transform everything, including yourself. He helped write the Declaration of Independence. He became an ambassador in France. He negotiated peace. He helped create America's first public university. And somehow, he still found time to study languages. Yes, Franklin was a true polyglot. He taught himself French, Italian, Spanish, and Latin. He believed that learning languages was a way to understand the world, and also a way to earn respect. And here's something powerful. He used language learning as an exercise in mental discipline. Every new word was a brick in the foundation of his thinking. Every new phrase, a step toward freedom. Franklin proved that education does not belong to the privileged. It belongs to those who are willing to seek it. And the secret to learning is not some magic method. It's consistency. It's habit. It's desire. Today, his teachings are still alive. In schools, in books, in speeches by world leaders, and even in companies that follow his principles. People like Elon Musk, Bill Gates, and Barack Obama have all mentioned Franklin as an example of greatness. But maybe the most important thing to remember is this: he started small. He started with flaws. He started with fear. But he started. And that's why he never stopped growing. Perhaps the most incredible chapter of Franklin's life didn't happen in America, but in the luxurious courts of France, in 18th century Europe, in the heart of 18th century Europe. Picture this: a simple man from the American colonies, white hair, modest clothes, no noble title, walking through the golden halls of Versailles, surrounded by kings, aristocrats, and Enlightenment philosophers. That man was Benjamin Franklin. And as unlikely as it seemed, he became one of the most respected figures in French high society. Why? Because he didn't try to impress anyone. He was authentic. He was wise. And he spoke with the power of a man who had learned from life. Franklin was the key diplomat responsible for gaining France's support during the American Revolution. No weapons, no army, just words, charm, and intelligence. He knew that to convince kings, you needed more than politics. You needed philosophy. And Franklin spoke the language of thinkers. He quoted Voltaire, read Rousseau, and discussed science with elegance. While George Washington led the battles, Franklin led the alliances. And he succeeded. France sent ships, soldiers, and resources. And it changed everything. Without Franklin in Paris, the United States might not even exist as we know it today. But the most amazing part is that all of this was achieved by a man who had only 2 years of formal schooling. A man who learned to think, speak, write, and negotiate through discipline, books, and courage. Franklin proved that true nobility is not in your blood. It's in your mind. Now, let's learn some powerful words from today's story. These words appeared throughout the video, and knowing how to use them will make your English stronger and more natural. Resilience, the ability to recover from difficulties. Franklin showed great resilience when he started over in Philadelphia with nothing but determination. Discipline, the ability to control your behavior to reach a goal. He believed that discipline was the key to personal freedom and self-mastery. Virtue, a moral quality or value that guides behavior. Franklin created a system of 13 virtues to improve himself day by day. Diplomacy, the skill of negotiating and communicating wisely, especially between countries. Through diplomacy, Franklin convinced France to support the American Revolution. Self-improvement, the process of becoming a better person through learning and effort. For Franklin, self-improvement was a lifelong journey, not a destination. Try using these words in a sentence and write it in the comments below. This is your moment to practice and truly connect with what you've learned. So, what will you take from the story of Benjamin Franklin today? Maybe the most powerful lesson is this: you don't need to be born lucky. You just need to start, with courage, with discipline, and with the desire to grow. Franklin wasn't a classic hero. He was human, full of mistakes, doubts, and restarts, but he chose to learn. He chose to improve. And because of that, he became unforgettable. And what about you? What habit will you start today? What small step can you take right now to become your best self? Remember, learning English is not a race. It's a journey, a daily practice. Just like Franklin built his life, brick by brick, idea by idea. Now, I have a challenge for you. Write a sentence in the comments using one of today's words: resilience, discipline, virtue, diplomacy, or self-improvement. And if this story moved you, please like the video, share it with someone who needs inspiration, and subscribe to the channel. Here, you'll hear more stories to train your English and feed your soul. Speak and think in English. Live with wisdom.